Hey, I finally am drinking a Coniston beer again. This is their classic English bitter, Bluebird bitter, bottle conditioned, 4.2% alcohol, and you haven't seen this in America in years, at least not fresh, because the importers of it, Shelton Brothers, closed. Now it's something called Lime Ventures Concord, California. Um, but I've really enjoyed this one. Um, Coniston makes a lot of good bottle conditioned traditional British styles. And it's been years. And I don't think I ever did a review of this one for the YouTube. And it's definitely a little colder than it's supposed to be. It's not 58 degrees, but I feel like people would only drink this at 58 degrees if it was actually really on cask. But I'd at least have proper glass for a proper English pint, I guess. So it's just Maris Otter malt and English Challenger hops, fermented slightly warm for a soft fruitiness. That's traditional. Oh, why is this glass not very clean? Still developed a really nice head there. And you can see it looks, I guess, kind of like Sierra Nevada. Maybe Sierra Nevada is a little bit darker. I don't know if they even use any crystal malt in this one. Maybe that's why I like it. We just need to get Timothy Taylor's Landlord Pale Ale around here. That one's hoppier, and that one for sure only uses Golden Promise, I believe. Golden Promise is a little bit paler, but yeah, it's got a nice rich head, big soapy bubbles, getting some nice English hop character. Yeah, just a subtle hint of fruitcake, but then like sort of a hay thing. Ooh, and this smells like it's nice and fresh. Yeah, no old hop or like dusty dead beer smells going on. Herbal, kind of a lemon iced tea thing. Maybe some like dried currant type stuff. Smells great. Ooh, yeah, that's quite bitter, quite hoppy. This might be the freshest I've ever had this, but this is a beer that would be on the shelves of any good beer store, up until a few years ago. If you had a British section, you'd have this one. And what I miss is like we don't get Theakston either. They did Old Peculiar, or they still do Old Peculiar, or just like the American market doesn't care about a lot of imported beers, especially stuff that's a little more expensive and sits on the shelves. Even though American beer is getting more expensive now, but people don't want this sort of thing. Most Americans probably don't know anything about British hops or what real British pale ales taste like. Brewers are starting to make more lagers, and that's kind of the big thing, the obscure Czech style lagers, but the American craft beer movement it was based on sort of British style, so now it's based on just Americans taking that and making it taste exactly like some fruit, or adding in fruit or sweet candy stuff to it, which is not really a traditional British thing. Yeah, has that wicker chair quality. That's the really big thing about English pale ales, and more like bitters. When you say pale ale, it kind of implies that it's a little stronger. It usually has caramel malt in it. But when you say bitter, it usually means a lower alcohol one. This is 4.2. I think Timothy Taylor Landlord Pale Ale is about the same. And the carbonation gives us a pretty nice fine feel. There's something to it despite how low ABV and dry it is. It's not super watery. If you had this one on cask with a little lower carbonation, you could definitely drink a lot of it. And yeah, at a lower temperature, a pretty good carb. I don't know if you can see that in there. And a little bit of haze. On the bottom of this, you've got not much sediment, so this is probably quite fresh. Let's just get the last bit in there, see what happens. There you go. Classic British beer. I love this. They say a faint hint of scented geranium. Can't remember exactly what geranium's like, but this does have a floral thing, but it's not like a really sweet, soft floral. It's on the more, I don't want to say funky, stinky flower side, but on the more pungent floral side. And a little bit of apricot for sure from the esters. And I guess they say the hop they use, Challenger hops, is kind of unusual. It's not Golding or Fuggles, which are kind of the two classic English hops. It might give it a little bit more oomph, a little bit more like a bit of a bitter orange peel sort of thing. It's definitely more bitter than most English beers that I've had. Maybe some Americans will like it, but it's also very, very different from what people like in IPAs these days. It's kind of like, I guess you could almost categorize it as like a session IPA, the sort of thing that was popular 7 years ago in America. Pardon me. Back when they kind of brewed IPAs and pale ales a little bit more like this. Yeah, and despite it not being on casket, that oily, bitter wicker chair, herbal, British hop thing just reminds me of cask beer, which is really fun. And I've had some like really fresh cask beers, British ones that I think maybe even still have the hops inside it, and they really added a character that's similar to this, or it reminds me of just a fresh hop bag. If you throw in some actual hops into your beer and then strain them out, it leaves this kind of resinous quality to it. That's quite good. Yeah, they do say intense resinous and spicy hop character. And yeah, it is, especially as you drink it. Might be hard to find this, especially fresh around, but make sure it says imported by Lime Ventures right there. If you see one that's Shelton Brothers, it's probably going to look like an old bottle and not be very good. But this is great. This is a 4.5 beer for me. And it's cheaper than Maine Beer Company beers, or maybe about the same as a peeper, and definitely worth it. Bye.